Good evening and welcome to the Monday, February 10th Maplewood City Council meeting. I generally start the meeting with talking about some things that are happening around town and some things that maybe our residents, I certainly think that they would be interested in, but they may not necessarily know about. I know in the last couple of weeks, it feels like I have been in just a variety of different meetings, and I just wanted to kind of share some of those meetings. I met with Chief Mondor and Mr. Sable and myself, and then the contingency, the city manager from Roseville, and their fire chief, Brosnahan, too, and we met with Alina. And the purpose of our meeting was to talk about an excess use of mutual aid from our fire department. It certainly has an impact on Maplewood, and this is something that representatives from Alina needed to know about. And so what we did was we had, I thought, a very good meeting, talked about a lot of data. Staff are getting together and kind of comparing the data, because obviously they're collecting some data that we're not, and ours is based on dispatch and all of that. So when all of that data gets put together, then we are putting together another meeting that is in process right now. It's going to be scheduled, and Alina is going to be reporting back to us with some action steps. I am hopeful, but that's also because I'm a very optimistic person. But this is something that we do need to take care of. We need to address it because there is an imbalance, and certainly under the current legislation, Alina has responsibility for providing EMS services to not only Roseville, but we also see it in Vadnais Heights and Little Canada, and I don't quite remember all of the rest of the cities, but it impacts on our mutual aid. And so we certainly are aware of that, and we are addressing it. I thought the council would want to know that as well. We're working on that. Mr. Sable and I also were at a meeting this weekend with the Hmong 18 Council to discuss immigration executive orders. Representatives from Minneapolis and St. Paul were there as well. I thought that it was a very well-received meeting. We had a great discussion. Another meeting, now on a different level, Mr. Sable and I met with, we've had actually two meetings. One was with the Met Council, and that was with the chair of the Met Council and then the administrator to talk about Maplewood's transit future and what we need here. We know that the hospital is going to be, there's going to be some significant growth there. We know that Century College has needs in terms of students. We also know that we have to think about transit in terms of the mall too. And so we talked about the future of transit with Mr. Zelli and Mr. O'Connor. And the suggestion was then to meet with Ramsey County. And Mr. Sable and I met with Ramsey County as well in the last 10 days, I think it was, yeah. In the last 10 days, that's the next step to talk about transit, because the funding partners that we're really looking to for transit is the Met Council and it is Ramsey County. And one of the things that we want to be pursuing is the transit tax that Ramsey County is pursuing. And we certainly know, I think this council was very vocal about recognizing we need more transit on the east side. And in having these meetings, talking about what are some creative ways that we can work through that to ensure that we've got transit for the future. And we're looking at some creative things and having these discussions. The next meeting will be with Metro Transit, it will be with Ramsey County, and Mike and I will be there as well. And things have changed, certainly, in that any federal projects for transit, now with our new administration, they will not be funding transit. So our funding partners are going to be Metro Transit, and it is going to be Ramsey County. And fortunately, Ramsey County, I think the legislature adopted the transit tax in 2023, and hopefully we can benefit from from some of that, because I don't think that, well, and this is, I think the Met Council and Ramsey County concurred with us that the federal spending is just not going to be there. So that, I think, was a very productive meeting. I'll report back more once we've discussed, we've had that meeting, and we move forward with those discussions. Let's see, council members, I asked Mike to send out an email. I wanted to invite you to a Ramsey County League of Local Government meeting on Thursday night, if you're available. We are hosting a meet and greet for our Ramsey County legislators, now that the legislators are back in session, all of them. It's going to be a focus, it will just be Ramsey County legislators. So if you're available, you got the invitation, it would be great. I'm planning on being there, and that is sponsored by the Ramsey County League of Local Government. I can just give you a little heads up, too, that next month, the monthly program for Ramsey County League of Local Government is going to be on electric cars, and that's going to be a Zoom meeting. That will be at 8 o'clock. I just don't remember the date. But if you're interested in that, it's a Zoom meeting. It should be, I think, very informative. And I thought about you, Councilmember Juniman, in terms of electric cars, that you may want to zoom in on that meeting because it looks like it's right up your alley. But anyway, those are some things that are happening out there. And just because you don't necessarily see all of it happening all at once, we have a very busy staff, and we certainly have a number of partners that we are working with. So lots of good things, I think, that are coming for our city. So, council members, we are ready to start our meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City Clerk Cinch, would you do the roll call for us?
Councilmember Juniman. Here. Councilmember Lee.
Present.
Councilmember Villavicencio.
Here.
Councilmember Cave.
Here.
Mayor Abrams.
I'm here as well, thank you. Council members, is there a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? I see Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Under council presentation, Grab It Arcade.
I'm sorry, what?
Under council presentation, Grab It Arcade.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, moving on to the approval of minutes, we have the January 27th, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Approval.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Juniman, seconded by Councilmember Lee. The motion to approve the January 27th, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Thank you very much. Councilmember Cave abstained. Next, we have the January 27th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Councilmember Juniman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, I think, yes, we did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to administrative presentations. Mr. Sable, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just a few items to put on your forecast. So if you just remember a few minutes ago, or maybe about a half hour ago, we just wrapped up the first of what proves to be several conversations regarding around economic development strategy. And so if you have an opportunity, if you haven't done so, please fill out the survey that was included at the end. I think that will help inform our next conversation. Just putting a few things on your radar. At the February 24th workshop, we are going to have This is a theme of the first of several conversations with the YMCA of the North about their intended future at the community center. We know that their lease will expire at the end of 2026, and we want to make sure that we are prepared in advance. So this is just a table setter conversation around the conversations that we can expect going forward. We also are going to have an opportunity to talk about the city's summer and fall festival schedule and what that looks like. As you know, last year we ran into some weather for both Touch a Truck and 4th of July. We wound up having the event in September, and the council had asked us to sort of discuss options for what that could look like going forward. So you'll see that. And then sort of a longer-term forecast. We have, engaged in a contract with Matt Bostrom. Dr. Matt Bostrom was the former Ramsey County Sheriff, has been doing a police staffing study. The results of that we expect to get back on the meeting on March 24th. So it will be a lengthy presentation, not because it's boring, but it's going to be rich in its content, but it will take about 2 hours. So just put that on your radar that that's coming. And then for folks in the community, Saturday is our Skate with Public Safety at Wakefield Park at noon. Saturday, February 15th. We're expecting cold weather, so it's perfect for outdoor recreation. Just dress appropriately. And then this is just a side note. I think community members we don't often thank people enough or honor people enough in our daily lives in our communities. So the Joe Bergeron Community Service Award is an award that's given annually. The nominations for that close on March 31st. If you have somebody in your life or in your community who has made outstanding contributions to the community, please take some time, nominate them for a very worthy award. We really want a hard job in terms of picking who that winner is. So please submit nominations by the end of March. The last thing I want to say is beginning in April, we are tentatively scheduling a mini council retreat to talk about the strategic plan. As you know, the strategic plan is on the back of your 3-ring binders every week. It is now approaching 8 years old since we've had a total redo. So we want to build space and time in your calendars to talk about, are these the right strategic priorities and what modifications could or should we make? And so we'll be sending out a doodle poll for your schedule in April, and you'll get an email from Lois on that in the coming days. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Sable? Okay, then moving on to council presentations, Grab It Arcade.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a quick moment to give a shout out to Grab It Arcade. If you guys have not been to Grab It Arcade, they are a claw machine business located in Maplewood Mall. So this past weekend, February 8th, I joined Senator Fong and Daniel and his family in celebrating their 1-year anniversary. It's crazy how these claw machine businesses are just popping up in town, and so great to hear that they're still very successful, that they're able to celebrate a year anniversary. I think Grab It Arcade is a great example of what it is to be a small business owner, being able to hire local, providing opportunities for folks here in our community, but then at the same time, being able to create memories for families. My son still talks about us not being able to win the little thing in there, and how we finally got the ping pong ball into the right spot to win the toy. It's the everlasting memories that these businesses are able to create in Maplewood. So thank you, Grab It Arcade, for choosing Maplewood as your place of business, and happy anniversary to you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, moving on, we have the Community Design Review Board 2024 Annual Report. Danette, are you going to set this up for us?
Madam Mayor, I am very happy to set up a very brief introduction. Chairman Kemp wasn't able to be here this evening, so we were very happy to have Vice Chair Osmond here to join us and report on the 2024 happenings on behalf of the Community Design Review Board. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tom. Yep, go ahead.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Tom Osmond, and I am the Vice Chairperson of the Community Design Review Board, CDRB. I am a lifelong Maplewood resident, so this is fun for me to do this for the first time. What is the CDRB? The City Council established a Community Design Review Board to encourage orderly and harmonious growth of the city, provide for the orderly and harmonious appearance of structures and property within the city, maintain public health, safety, and general welfare, maintain property and improvement values throughout the city, City. Encourage the city's physical development as intended by the city's comprehensive municipal plan. The CDRB has 5 members appointed by the City Council, serving in staggered 3-year terms. The board's duties and responsibilities include reviewing all plans for new or expanding commercial, industrial, and multi-dwelling residential properties, except those under our 15-day minor construction project and single-dwelling permits. The board also reviews comprehensive sign plans. The Maplewood City Ordinance requires the Community Design Review Board to prepare a report for the City Council each year, outlining the board's actions and activities during the preceding year. So here's some 2024 highlights. We met 6 times, reviewed 10 items. This is a slight decrease overall from previous years because Maplewood is approximately 95% developed and has limited remaining vacant sites available. Infill development, redevelopment, and expansion have become the norm for the city. On Wiper Avenue, Mr. Car Wash completed construction where the former Denny's restaurant was located, and a new multi-tenant medical clinic is being built on the south end of Wiper Avenue. The board reviewed plans for the new Starbucks coffee shop to be built in the Birch Run Station parking lot. On Maplewood Drive, a smaller, long-standing vacant industrial parcel will soon be home to the Hampton Company's new office and warehouse building for the construction company. The board also reviewed design plans for Gladstone Village 2, a 56-unit multifamily apartment building project on English Street south of Gladstone 1, approved last year. This past year, the CDRB conducted the annual election of officers. Bill Kempe was reelected chairperson, and myself, Tom Osmond, was reelected vice chairperson. The community development staff is coordinating and training for the design board this year related to their role and responsibilities. This will also incorporate a training session on how the Community Design Review Board's work fits in the city's broader goals and policies. Do the mayor and council have any questions about the board's activities or the report?
Any questions, council members? Councilmember Cave.
Just a comment. I want to thank you and all the Community Design Review Board members for all you do. It helps our job up here immensely because you go through and with a fine-tooth comb all the projects that need to be done, and it just makes our decisions up here easier. So without it, we appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you. And what I can say is we have a board that is very thorough in reading plans, and people that come here get a lot of questions asked for them. So they are. It's not a rubber stamp. They get lots of questions and have to have a lot of quick answers. So.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely can attest that they do have great conversations on the board itself. I do just want to give a quick shout out to the members on the board. Thanks to Bill, Tom, Jason, Anant, and Amanda, all of your hard work and services to the city of Maplewood. You folks, give up one day a month, be here with us to talk about city business, and I'm sure you'd rather be at home barbecuing or doing something, but it's important business, so thank you.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
We do appreciate it. Okay, council members, is there a motion to accept the report?
Sorry. I move to approve the Community Design Review Board's 2024 annual report.
Second.
Moved by Ginnivan, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion to approve the Community Design Review Board's 2024 annual report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Moving on, we have the annual report for our Planning Commission. Do you want to set this up for us, Danette?
I would as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chairman Desai is here this evening to report on the work of the Planning Commission throughout 2024 and what's coming ahead. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dushar.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council members and the rest of the team in the chambers here. My name is Tushar Desai. I've been a resident of Maplewood for 34 years, and I've been a member of the Planning Commission for the last 22 years. So, gone through a lot of changes in the city of Maplewood. Maplewood City Ordinance requires the Planning Commission to prepare a report for the City Council each year outlining the Commission's actions and activities during the preceding year. In 2024, the Commission met 7 times and reviewed 13 items, 3 variances requests, 7 conditional use permits, and 2 zoning text amendments. This slightly decreased from previous years, but included new businesses in the city, expanding community-centered organizations, and a new school. Because Maplewood is approximately 95% developed and has limited remaining vacant sites, infill development, redevelopment, and expansion have become the norm for the city. The expansive parking lot area at Bertrand Station was subdivided to create 2 new development parcels within the existing parking lot. The property owner plans to develop one with Starbucks, coffee shop, and the other parcel could be a multi-tenant retail building or a drive-through restaurant. The commission reviewed Gladstone Village 2 this go-around with a 56-unit multifamily apartment project on English Street, south of Gladstone 1, which was approved last year. This will add up to 121 new homes in the city and improve our tax base as well. A new school, Sejong Academy, will operate within the Gatsmain Church on Stillwater Road, and Larkin Dance Studio off Cope Avenue and south of Highway 36 will be working to update its parking lot, stormwater maintenance, and landscaping. The commission reviewed the city's capital improvement plan for 25 to 29 and assisted in updating ordinances related to reasonable accommodations and cannabis businesses in the city to facilitate the efficient review of future proposals. This past year, the commission conducted the annual election of officers. I myself was elected chairperson and Lou Yang as the vice chairperson. Community development staff is coordinating training for the Planning Commission this year regarding their roles and responsibilities. This will also incorporate a training session on how the commission's work fits the city's broader goals and policies. If any questions that I can answer?
Councilmember Cave.
I just want to also express my gratitude to you and everyone on the Planning Commission for all that you do for,
Thank you.
Helping our jobs up here.
Sure.
It was really great this year when we got to go on the bus tour, and I met more people when we went in the back, and I
Right.
thought that was really wonderful because we don't get a chance up here, and
Right.
if we can do more of that, I think that's really great.
Yep, I think so, and it also helped look at all the potential areas that would be up for
Yes.
changes coming up in the new year. So I think
Yeah.
it's a real good way to go about
Yeah.
looking at the city.
Yeah, me too. So thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to also say, the Planning Commission has a lot of great energy. If you guys get a chance to attend the Planning Commission meetings, Tushar, you've done a great chair for the Planning Commission, thank you.
Thanks.
I do just want to give a shout out to all of the other board members on there. So thanks to Tushar, thank you Commissioner Liu, Paul, John, Alan, Tom, who was just up here, serves on the CDRB and also the Planning Commission. So thank you for that. And thanks to Scott. So you guys all do amazing jobs.
Thank you.
We appreciate your work.
Yep, thanks.
Councilmember Juniman.
A special thank you to you for your years of service. You get a long-term pin for how long you've been there. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You can't
Thank
go
you.
anywhere.
No.
No plans.
We won't let you. Council members, is there a motion?
I move to approve the Planning Commission 2024 annual report.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio, the motion to approve the Planning Commission's 2024 annual report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you
right,
very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
Next, we are moving on to our consent agenda. We have 7 items. Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to,
Motion consent agenda items G1 through 7.
second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve consent agenda items G1 through 7. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We have no unfinished business. We have new business. The first item of new business is alcohol compliance failures. Andrea, this is your topic.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the Maplewood Police Department conducts annual liquor compliance checks every year. This year was occurred in on November 7th and December 14th. We went to 53 licensed establishments that we have here. There were only 2 establishments that failed by selling alcohol to underage buyers. Both were on sale. It was Crooked Pint and TGI Fridays. As the licensing authority, the city may impose civil penalties to the businesses for the failures. The separate criminal charges to the server will be dealt with through the courts. That is not for our dealing. City council approval is required for imposing the alcohol compliance failure fines. Just to give you some history, in past practice, we have generally had a guideline of $500 for the first, $1,000 for the second, and $2,000, which is the state maximum for a third failure. And we typically go on 5 years to give us when it's first, second, and third. There is also the option council has to have suspension or revocation depending on the situation. So looking at these guidelines, with both of them being first-time failures, we are proposing fines of $500 to Crooked Pint, and because TGI Fridays has since closed, they closed in December of 2024, thus remedying any future failures. So we are only proposing a fine of $500 for Crooked Pint. They were informed of the penalty, and they were asked to have a representative here tonight. I don't know if anybody is here tonight from Crooked Pint. Otherwise, so if somebody is here, you can have them address council. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and recommend either the proposed fine, or you can suggest another amount that you would like us to charge.
Is there anyone here from Crooked Pint?
Didn't want to face the music.
It's a little bit unusual. We have generally had representatives from the business here. It's a little disappointing that they weren't here. Did they contact anyone?
No, we do know that they received the notice because we sent it certified mail to them, but we had not received any other communication.
Okay. Councilmember Lee, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious. I think it's important to have the business owner in front of the council. Is this something that we can maybe push to the next council meeting? Council, and I'd love to have them here so we can let them know the importance of not selling to underage.
Mr. Beatty, is that something that we can hold off until our next council meeting?
Madam Mayor, yes, you certainly can.
You know, I happen to think that that is a very good idea.
I would second that.
Me too.
So, Mr. Beatty, do we need to formally table this?
Madam Mayor, I think that would be a good idea. The only other thing I would add, and I'm not suggesting this, but as the city clerk indicated, all of those penalties are possibilities. The statute does allow up to a 60-day suspension or a revocation of the license, but only with the notice of a hearing. So I'm not sure if anybody's thinking of that, but if you were thinking of that as a penalty, I would suggest that you also give them a hearing. If that's not in the cards, then simply continuing this item until the next meeting would be appropriate.
Okay. I was not thinking this is the first violation. I certainly wasn't thinking about, any kind of revocation or anything like that.
Speak for yourself.
I will be honest, I was thinking about increasing the first fee.
Especially since they didn't show.
They didn't show up, but, I think we can also give them the benefit of the doubt this time and continue this. Will someone like to make a motion to continue this item until the next meeting? Would that be appropriate, Mr. Beatty?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it would.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion?
Motion to continue the compliance failure penalty until the next meeting.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the continuance of the 2024 alcohol compliance failure for Crooked Pint Ale House until our next meeting, which is, what is the date of that, Mr. Sable?
February 24th at 7 p.m.
Until February 24th at 7 p.m. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That issue is continued.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilmember Cave.
Do we need to also notify them that,
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
City Clerk Cinch will notify them.
okay,
and-
I didn't know if we needed to say it. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Maplewood Assisted Living, 1744 County Road D East. I remember when this was at the council before, and I see the applicant out here. Ms. Parr, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Yes, you are correct. This is the exact same application that came before you previously, so we're excited to bring it back and get it going again. I'm just going to turn your attention to the overhead really quickly, and we'll just run through as a kind of a refresher for anyone that maybe wasn't here when it was originally approved, and just kind of give you a sense of what it is we're talking about. MX Real Estate is bringing forward a 20-unit residential assisted living facility. This is part of a larger PUD that has been slightly revised over time, but has always been envisioned for a future build-out use here, and the use is in line with our comp plan. What they're requesting today as a part of this, to move this forward, to be able to get their necessary building permits and whatnot in motion, is a conditional use permit amendment for the PUD for the site, and then the design review approval ultimately from you tonight. This is the just over 2 acre site, and you can see it there in the photo. It's the vacant site on County Road D. It's got Village Trail to the south and County Road D to the north there. The PUD zoning district, it's in compliance. As has been talked about, there were previous things that have come forward. The most recent review submittal that was made was in 2022. That expired on May 9th of 2024, unfortunately, and for that reason, it's back before you today. It's virtually unchanged from what you saw previously. There are a few adjustments, but not really material adjustments in regards to the site itself. As you can see, they meet the requirements in relation to parking. There's one thing I want to draw your attention to, which is the future addition. You can see to the west there, that particular area, if in fact that does come to fruition in the future, they'll have to come back before you for approval of that. We have, though, thought ahead in regards to parking and other things that are more static, that are a little bit harder to change up, and we believe it will have more than enough to meet those needs at that time. And that would be for future living space as well, is what we're anticipating that to be if it comes forward. As far as the elevations themselves, you can see that it meets all of our design criteria in relation to the materials. I'll quick run through those. As you can see, it's 24 feet at its highest point. It's manufactured wood trim, batten, and shingle siding in the colors of white, light blue, and cultured stone veneer that wraps around the building. It's obviously four-sided architecture, meeting our requirements in that regard. And here is the north and west elevation, and then the south elevation. You can see the sign that meets our requirements, as well as the trash enclosure in the upper left-hand corner there. And then here's some elevations for you as well. Tonight, I'll stand for questions, and the applicant's here as well. However, I will tell you the recommended action is the two you see on the overhead. The motion to approve the conditional use permit resolution for the PUD amendment for the constructing of the residential assisted living facility at 1744 County Road D East, and subject to the conditions of approval. And then motion to approve a design review resolution for constructing of that structure as well. I should also note, we did notify within 500 feet. We had no comments from neighbors in relation to it. No one came to speak against or in favor of it at the public hearing. And at this point, I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Parr? Would you, I know that you are the owner, would you like to step forward?
Yes.
Would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Mycia. And
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think she pretty much said everything. So, yeah, I'm just asking for approval again for the conditional use again.
Thank you. Councilmember Juniman, do you have a question? I have a question for staff. Okay. We have no questions for you. We just have one question for staff.
Sure, thank
But
you.
thank you very much. Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you. Under the landscaping and screening section in our report, are they aware that the site plan, there are more required screenings than they had come up with? It was for the generator and the transformer?
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. The generator and transformer do require, as well as along the trash enclosure, additional screening. That is just typically, as it's reviewed, and our environmental aspects are included in the memo that are within the information that's included to the applicant. So I do believe they are aware of the additional screening requirements. I see a nod. I
Okay.
think that conversation's been had, but I just got confirmation of that. So yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks.
Seeing no other questions, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve a conditional use permit resolution for a PUD amendment for constructing a residential assisted living facility at 1744 County Road D East, subject to certain conditions of approval.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Cave. The motion, excuse me, is printed in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. There is a second motion. Would someone like to make that one?
Motion to approve a design review resolution for constructing a residential assisted living facility at 1744 County Road D East, subject to certain conditions of approval.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Cave. The motion, the second motion, B, as printed in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much, and we look forward to breaking ground out there. Thank you very much. Moving on to, we have one more new item, or new business item. It is the contract for demolition for the property at 1830 Howard Street North. Ms. Parr, this is your topic tonight.
It is. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This is another item that you have seen before, at least a portion of it. This conversation we had in 2024 in relation to this building. This is at 1830 Howard Street North. It is an unoccupied single-family dwelling. We had a number of complaints over the last few years and have tried to get compliance in relation to it, and it's finally gotten to the point where we knew it was becoming a hazard at that point. As you recall, we brought it before you previously. We needed to get a warrant in order to be able to access the inside of it with our building official and others to really take a close look at the structural elements of it. And it became clear to us right away that it was a hazard and it needed to be removed. It was really the only remedy for it, unfortunately. When we can help people get it to a new place in regards to rehab, obviously that's the preferred option. It just wasn't an option in this one, and you probably remember the pictures, quite honestly. So since the council ordered the abatement of the public nuisance in 2024, we've sought quotes, and the lowest qualified quote came from Goodmanson Construction. That was in your packet. The quote for the removal of the structure was $41,000. We also had the asbestos. They took a look at that, and the removal and disposal of that is $1,400. They'll manage that, but that'll be done by a third party, and so that gets brought in as well as a part of that. That is included in that $42,400. That's reflected in the contract and also in their final quote. So we anticipate that those funds will be recouped as a part of the special assessment on the property is what we're anticipating. Since the time this came before you, we have been able to make contact with a family member. We're always trying to do that to see if there's other options. Unfortunately, the individual that owned the home is no longer able to speak for herself on the behalf of what she wants to happen there. So her executor is stepping in, and we're talking to her about, is this a site that might make sense for us to look at in relation to scattered site? Is there something else we can do and help move that forward so we can get redevelopment of a single-family home to be there in the future? So we're actively engaging in that conversation, just to be aware. I spoke with Goodmanson Construction, a representative today, and asked about timing, and they said if approval of the contract happens tonight in regards to them being able to move forward, they can mobilize in a couple weeks, start the work in order to get the abatement going on the asbestos in the next couple weeks, and then from there, be able to start the demo relatively quickly. So with that, staff recommends a motion to approve the contract with Goodmanson Construction for the demolition of 1830 Howard Street and to authorize the mayor and the city manager to sign the contract. And with that, I'm happy, as well as I know Ron has been helpful on this as well with the contracts, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have for us tonight.
Thank you for that presentation. I'm sure that the neighbors will be very happy that this hazardous home that basically is falling down. I remember the pictures that you showed us, and it was, it warranted being torn down. When you said that we will recoup the cost of this, how is that process going to work?
Madam Mayor, Council, typically, excuse me, what I recommend is that after we incur costs such as this, we send the property owner a bill. They very rarely pay it, and so we specially assess the property for it, which means that the assessment will be collected over time with taxes like any other special assessment. If that doesn't occur, if there's a tax forfeiture or something, which is not uncommon in these situations, we will eventually recoup it when the property is sold. The assessment will be recorded against the property, and they won't be able to sell it without satisfying all judgments, and that will be a judgment. If the city in the end decides that it wants to acquire the property, then what I would anticipate is that we would discount the price that we would be willing to pay for the property by that assessment. So that's another way that we would recover the money.
Thank you very much. I think that that's helpful for the residents to know how that happens. I don't see any other questions. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve a contract with Goodmanson Construction for the demolition of 1830 Howard Street North and authorize the mayor and city manager to sign the contract.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion as written in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And I think I heard the neighbors clapping out there. I think I did, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I did.
Me too.
I think I did. All right, we have one more demolition on our agenda tonight, the Moose Lodge demolition. Ms. Parr, this is also yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We have a little bit of a theme going on tonight. I usually get excited when we build stuff, but I have to say I'm a little bit excited tonight that we're ripping stuff down. So thank you for helping me out with this. Okay, so as many of you likely recall, we've had a lot of conversations about this site. You saw it on your tour, and you've seen it for a long time in the community. I'm going to tag team this in actually with Mike Darrow and Steve Love and our attorney. This has been a project that's had a lot of moving parts, and so we've had a lot of help. John Jarosh and Scott Schultz from our Public Works, as well as Mike. So we'll call on some help if we need to as we get into questions. But as you recall, we bought the site in 2019. We did that in a very concerted and proactive, it's kind of in a good theme tonight from our workshop, but in a proactive way because we wanted to have control of this site. We talk about what we paid for it or this or that. There's also a value we can't put on it in relation to having that control and helping create that destiny on that important corner. When we bought it, I think we anticipated that we would turn it around a lot faster. That was our goal. But there was, believe it or not, some method to the madness of wanting to wait until we saw that corridor develop more fully. That allows us to maximize our profits potentially on that site because people can envision what's going on. If we had sold this a number of years ago and you didn't see all the transformation, if you drive, as you all know, down that corridor, it's awesome, and developers can see that too. So we're hoping that helps us as we look at that site and work with you to understand the future destiny for that particular site. As a part of understanding that transformation and now knowing we feel like this is the right time to do it, staff went out and got bids. And the submittal deadline on January 4th, we had 15 firms submit bids at that point. There was a wide range, as you could see in your report. The proposals were anywhere from $249,000 at the lowest to over $851,000 at the highest. So there's a huge range. I won't even go there in regards to contemplating all the rationale behind those. But in Maplewood Forum, we want to be creative. We want to look to see what are all the options in regards to timing and in regards to cost and how we want to look at that. So tonight you saw two options in your packet. One is the option to approve the demolition for $249 from Kevitt Excavating for the removal of the building only. So I want to preface that. That was the lowest qualified bid, and that included just removing the building, not the parking lot. The parking lot, as an option, could be potentially, if the council wanted to, you could look at leaving it and having a developer later remove it as a part of the development. We could have staff look at having internally, have us remove it, and we can talk to Steve about that if that's something you want to talk about. The other option, option 2, is approve the demolition bid at $314,898.75 for the Gustafson Excavating, the removal of the building and the parking lot jointly. In either case, they have the same parameter of May 22nd as the forecasted completion date or before, and they both obviously address the asbestos, which is a huge thing. There's a fair amount in that building, so they're going to be doing that right in regards to removing it. The other little caveat to this, I just want to mention so that you know that we're paying attention. Back before we did that, went out for the bids, we had LHB come and update their blight report. And just to remind everyone what that means is, and Ron, correct me or add to it as you like, but that allows us 3 years to preserve that blight status. If we didn't do that and we took that building down, it would take away your ability to use it as a part of that TIF or as a part of whatever we do in the future. In this case, it preserves it and it gives you time to figure it out. I'm anticipating you're going to give us direction at some point in the very near future to look at an RFP and go out for proposals, which we'll talk more about in the near future. But just be aware that we've got that in the back of our mind and that we'll be hanging on to that for future steps. So with that, I just wanted to make you aware there are two options. The first one has a couple different elements to it. We're looking for you to give us some direction in regards to that and to pass tonight our ability to move forward with that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, as well as I know Mike and Ron and Steve are here as well to answer questions.
Thank you very much for that report. I know that there are many residents that, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I remember going and having many spaghetti dinners there for Cub Scouts in the basement, probably on the asbestos flooring down there, but having a lot of spaghetti dinners down there with Cub Scouts. And I think that even the car racing little Cub Scout, what is it? I forgot it. Pinewood Derby, absolutely. Pinewood Derbies were held there, and it was a lot of fun. But now it is a complete eyesore, and it is in need of being torn down. And I know a lot of people in the neighborhood are very thrilled about that. I had an opportunity to talk with neighbors, since I don't live very far from there, and I drive by this every day, it was interesting that the six different people that I talked about this, favored the idea of the $249,000 and leaving the parking lot to the developer. And the reason being that, a developer is going to do that, but they were concerned that if you take the parking lot out, then the weeds are going to be really, really tall, and there probably will be maybe some concern about dumping on the site, but at least leveling it off and getting rid of the building. But it was interesting that people were very opinionated about that, and that kind of surprised me. Beyond just being thrilled to take the building down, but that's kind of what they thought. Council members, what are your thoughts? Councilmember Cave.
Yeah, thank you. My thoughts on it were to take the parking lot also. I don't know if it would be with our city doing it. I don't know if it's something even Steve wants to tackle, but I wasn't even thinking Steve to tackling it. I was thinking just option 2, because if you're going to take everything out of there and clean it up, you want a clean slate for somebody to come in, not have to do. You don't see it. It's like you want a blank canvas for somebody to see to build something, not where it's partially done.
You think it's worth it's about $65,000 difference, isn't it? Something like that?
I can't tell you if that's a cost. I mean, I'm.
That's the difference between the two bids.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's high, low. I would think it costs a lot to get rid of, and then you have to take the asphalt somewhere so they can grind it up, and it's going to be a cost, but I think we can recoup it when we sell the property.
Ms. Parr, what do you think?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Cave, the one thing I would mention really quick, and we didn't bring it up as a part of this, but initially when we were trying to understand what the threshold of what the cost would be for our purchasing policy, really more than anything else, and knowing if we had to go out to do bids or whether we could get quotes, positive thinking, I suppose, but at the end of the day, we had a couple people give us quotes, just kind of as a ballpark idea, and they included the building and the parking lot, and they were both around $330. So I don't know that, and this one that we ended up at $314, or just over $314, I don't know that, it seems like it's below what our original two came in at a number of months ago, a few months ago. Just, I don't know if that provides any guidance, but.
Is this something that we can recoup from a developer who comes in, or is this really, does it make that much difference to a developer? What are your thoughts?
Madam Mayor, Council, here's how I think the city would want to recoup this, is that in many development or redevelopment projects, the city will donate the land, sell it for $1. I mean, that's a form of assistance. You wouldn't want to do that in this case. What you'd want to do is sell it for market value or whatever we can get. And if additional assistance is needed, include that in the tax increment. In other words, reimburse the developer through tax increment. That's a way of us not taking a loss on the purchase of the property and the demolition. It'll depend on how much, what the market will bear, and I mean all the details, but that would be the way to approach it. So I guess the thing to think about is how much money do you want to put into the project that then you'd have to get back out. I mean, one of the advantages, I suppose, of only doing the building is that minimizes the amount of money that you've sunk into the project and therefore have to get back out. I think a developer would be not surprised to find a site that the building had been removed but the parking lot was still there. I don't think that would discourage someone who found the site to be favorable from pursuing pursuing some sort of project.
Okay.
Follow-up?
Councilmember Cave.
A follow-up to that, and I don't know who can answer, but because it's blighted, the area's blight, is there anything that if we don't take it down when it's under blight status, is that anything?
No, Madam Mayor, Council, no. The as Ms. Parr said, in 2021, the city adopted a resolution that allows us to use the soon-to-be demolished building to qualify for a redevelopment district. Tax increment projects, which we're assuming that this is going to be, come in a number of flavors. The two that you're familiar with are housing districts, where we don't care about the blighted conditions. The only qualification for that is that they be affordable, a certain percentage of the units be affordable. Everything we've talked about now is to preserve the ability to use the other main type of tax increment district, which is redevelopment, where you have to have 50% or more than 50% of the buildings have to be blighted or structurally substandard, and the site has to be improved. Well, the site is clearly improved, and that's whether you take the parking lot out or not. We adopted that resolution. The council adopted the resolution in April of 2021 to preserve the right to establish a redevelopment district even when the building is gone. But demolition starts the 3-year clock. I know we've talked about this before, but as a reminder, the city would need to find a developer, do a tax increment project, and certify the district which is the end of that process, within 3 years of the date of the demolition. So, once we demolish the building, then that clock starts.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question for Community Director. I have the property tax document with me here, and just to confirm, our purchase price for the property, I see sale price are $900,000. Is that what we purchased the property for?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Lee, yes, that is true. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So a couple of things that I'm thinking about, and I think this is a very unique property. Not a lot of spots left in the city of Maplewood. That's about almost 2 acres. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at $900,000 that the city already has into this property. When I'm looking at this, if we're sinking in another $300,000, I mean, 200 or 300,000, we're about 1.1, almost $1.2 million. My perspective is I think that we should completely level it, make it clean. If I'm a developer coming in as an entrepreneur, I want to be able to envision my business or my building on that spot. I need to make sure that that property is worth $1.2 million or whatever we're going to be selling for at market rate. I don't know what that market rate pricing is. So that's something that I'm thinking about. I would be in favor of completely getting rid of the parking lot. The parking lot itself is a mess. And I think something we have to consider too is we have 2 great projects that's coming across the street. And those are going to be people that are going to be living across the street looking at that parking lot. If we take down just a building, that parking lot's still not a site to that I would want to wake up to every day. I think for the $65,000 investment that we would make, it is a huge chunk of money, but I think that that's going to be able to bring up the value of our property. We'll be able to market that property better when someone's able to come in there to see their vision on that property. So that's really what I'm thinking about. I would be in favor of that. And something that I asked Steve a little bit about earlier is if we were to handle this ourselves, what does that look like? Our cost of material, labor and material, labor included, time and labor, what does that look like? And Steve, I don't know if are you able to share a little bit of what that piece looks like, comparing that to that $65,000? And I was trying to make some rationale and reasons with that cost, so.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So I was taking just a really quick look at that. And what I was looking at was, you're going to need to bring in about 4 inches of topsoil over both the 2 parking lot areas. You're going to have to seed that. I think that would range in amount of 20 to 30,000 in materials. And then you would have staff time and equipment into that as well then.
What would it take in terms of getting rid of the old broken up asphalt that's there?
Mayor and Council, so that would take our public works crews to tear it all up, also the concrete curb, bust it up into smaller pieces, load it up and haul it away to a site that will grind it and reuse it for material. My only recommendation would be if you're going to have public works staff do that, wait till later this spring or early summer when it's warmer and the ground's not frozen, and it'll be easier on our equipment.
And then, either way, Public Works is going to have to maintain that property in terms of cutting it and
Yes, Mayor
mowing
and
the lawn.
Council. Generally, we cut the area to keep it low until such time it develops, if it's our property.
Okay. Any other thoughts, council members? Councilmember Juniman?
Well, I was originally thinking, like Councilmember Cave, that we would do both the building and the parking lot, and I agree with Councilmember Lee. I think it's, as much as I know about this, of course, but I do think it might be more attractive if that was gone. And he brings up a good point that we have 2 new buildings going in across the street, and they're going to be looking at this. That is a good point. I mean, somebody's investing in building these nice new buildings for people to live in, and then they have to look at that. And if we do this right, then we'll be down to 1. That would be the Gladstone House. Yes, eyesore number 2. That the neighbors are waiting. We'll hear no cheering until that one's gone too.
Ms. Parr, have you heard anything? Let's just ask about the Gladstone House, because that is another eyesore. And I know I believe that has been sold, and last time I heard that it's Beacon Interfaith, and they were looking to finish up their financing. Do you know any more?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last I heard, they are, it's in the works, that's going to happen this spring. It's going to happen in '25, and that they are lining up and getting ready to do it. So we believe demo is going, yes, we're very excited. We're cheering as well as the neighbors. We're cheering with them.
That will be amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you just one final question. With infill property like this, and do you know what the acreage is on it? is it 3 acres? It's between 2 and 3, I thought.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 3 parcels there. The one we think of with the parking lot and the structure on it. And then there's 2 really small ones that butt up to the road. We're about 2 acres with all of them together.
Okay. Is there, I know that, I don't want the council necessarily to be misguided and think that, we paid $900,000 for it, and then you add another $315,000. I don't know. Is that a realistic expectation? From my perspective, it is not. For 2 acres of infill, to pay $1.3 million, is that? Do you want to comment on
Madam
that?
Mayor, we are going to have to do an appraisal of the site to be able to give you better information of today. I mean, what happened back then and what we were going for at that point in regards to the redevelopment effort and what we see today in the marketplace is different.
Right.
We don't even really have good comps when we look. I mean, we have some things that are obviously happening right there, but it really comes down to also the conversation of what do we want to happen there?
Right.
Because that also is going to make a difference. As we know from looking at the adjacent parcels, the market rate, the height, there's a lot of things that come into play that are going to determine that overall value in the end and what maybe wants to go there. So I think it's kind of hard to say at the moment what the value is. And the data that is on the website, it's dated. It's not really accurate to what we see today.
Right, and that's my concern. I just don't want council to think that that is the automatic asking price for that property. I think, though, it's probably more realistic that we might wind up with a developer and be working on, as Mr. Beatty talked about, some type of TIF district there within that 3-year period. I think that's maybe more realistic, so I would just caution council about that. So, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the demolition bid of $314,898.75 for Gustafson Excavating for the removal of the building and parking lot of 1946 English Street, Moose Lodge, and authorize the mayor and city manager to enter into a contract with a completion date of May 22nd, 2025.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Moved by Lee, seconded by Cave. The motion as written in option number 2, as written in our council packet. Further discussion, Mr. Sable.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just a point of personal privilege. I want to thank Mike Darrow and Danette and Steve and Ron. This was a complicated piece. Just through a little bit of effort, we're able to knock 15 grand off of the initial quote that we got, sort of a ballpark quote. It was a really great example of teamwork and collaboration, and it resulted in a really good outcome. And so I don't know that maybe I'm in the spirit of thanking people more frequently, but it was a really good example of how it's supposed to work when we work together, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, and I know people will be very happy. May 22nd, maybe we
coming
should.
soon.
Yes, maybe we should have a party out there, and, maybe we can cut a ribbon or something and say it's gone. Yes, a council picnic out there. So with that, council members, we have concluded the business of the city, and thank you for all of your hard work tonight, and thank you, staff. I appreciate it. And we are adjourned.
Thank you.